Hi, I'm Matti Mali, aka Hedonistic Actor, and boy do we have a tough one on today's episode of Mystery Gamebox. Claimed to be both the best and the worst of its series, this is The Elder Scrolls II: Daggerfall. The second part of one of the world's most famous role-playing game sagas was released in 1996 with the ambitious attempt to turn tabletop RPG experience into video game form. More depth into character creation and more realistic world with 160,000 to million square kilometers of landscape depending on the source where you can do anything you want! That all was made just in 2 years, huh? I'm sure this will turn out fine. For the first game's creative team, Julian LeFay and Ted Peterson made a return, the former now being the project leader, and as a new member to the design team is Bruce Nesmith, who would later work on the later installments of both the Elder Scrolls and Fallout series. I gave up on the Elder Scrolls Arena after 6.5 hours. Let's see if I fare any better this time. It's the year 405 of the Third Era when Tamriel's Emperor Uriel Septim VII informs our protagonist of disturbing news from the kingdom of Daggerfall. Its former king Lysandus, who died on a battlefield a few years back, has returned as a ghost yearning for revenge, so the Emperor's loyal agent must travel there and do something about it. I couldn't find the name of the actor in this full motion video opening, but he does solid work in establishing this firm yet wary authority figure.
Several years ago I wrote a letter to the Queen of Daggerfall. It never arrived. The letter was of a sentimental and personal nature. If you find and destroy that letter, I will be grateful.
Already this has hooked me. A vengeful spirit, a possible murder mystery, maybe even a sassy tribal drama. Plus reading the manual opened greatly some political intrigue and gave me a handful of suspects. Let's create a character already! The Emperor's agent is Helanthia, a wood elf healer hailing from the province of Waylandwood. Her class I picked due to the game recommending it to me after answering to some moral questions. There are numerous choices where you can build the character's background and really flesh out their personality, which doesn't come out that much in the dialogue choices, but it's the thought that counts. So the main characters shipwrecks and they save themselves to the game's first dungeon, Privateer's Hold, which is some kind of pirate stronghold, I think. The environment is now in full 3D, though all objects and characters are still 2D sprites. Also there's a tutorial if you so choose, but don't bother, it shows at wrong intervals anyway. One thing many reviewers recommended to do was to switch to free mouse look instead of Arena's locked cursor look, because it would make navigating easier. I think it made the battles harder because it removed the cursor, so I wasn't sure when I swung the weapon or when I just moved to side. Speaking of combat, it is mostly the same deal as in the previous game, though this time I had a better feeling of when my hits connect and when they miss. But damn, these rats and bats are tough. I can barely do damage while they can empty my health in 4 to 5 hits, not to mention this imp that can do rather devastating magic attacks. Good thing I have a healing spell. It only heals 1 to 2 hit points per level? Healing spell was the thing that made Arena's first dungeon a breeze, and now I can't even use... What the Oblivion, an archer? I'm only at level 1, how am I supposed to be ready for that? Yeah, I beat the dude, but only because I had to lock myself into this weird back and forward stab game that took about 10 minutes. Even on the weakest monsters I struggled to land a hit, and how did a freaking grizzly bear end up in here? Ah! After getting my ass kicked for an hour and a half, I came to the conclusion that playing Daggerfall with anything else than a fighter class is pure suicide. So let's try again! After Helanthia's spectacular failure, the Emperor sends a new agent, Jahinda, a red-coated knight hailing from the province of Hammerfell. And by the mother of all coincidences, she ends up on Privateer's Hold as well. Now, however, the combat is more fluent as my character manages to land more hits and the run backwards while swinging wildly tactic works better than ever. The combat is kind of fun. Maybe this will turn out alright after all. And Jahinda was indeed in God Julianus' favor and got out to the wide open world ready to start some epic adventuring! Our game world is a tad smaller area this time, namely Iliac Bay, that consists of the south half of High Rock and the north half of Hammerfell. Arena size was exaggerated due to its outside areas just looping endlessly, but Daggerfall has clear limits, and while it's partially randomized, you can walk from its end to end in about 3 real-life days. Well, from what I saw, it was barren and empty, so I just recommend using fast travel instead. Our hero starts her journey from Daggerfall's capital of the same name, and after wandering around while trying in vain to find some rare mineral for a side quest, she gets contacted by another Imperial agent, Lady Brisienna, who gives her more details about the underlying conflict, and success to search for clues from the royalty of Daggerfall, its former rival Sentinel, and from the third significant power Wayrest. I like this new direction. When the player is unsure what to do next, the game will once in a while give a hint on how to solve the main quest, thus making the storytelling tighter. One of the most common criticisms towards this game is its bugginess, and yeah, there are some occasional graphic glitches and that one time when I almost got stuck in a wall, but those were just minor nuisances. I don't see why... This game is legendary for its insect-infested state. They range from minor ones like the screen freezing for a brief moment or music bits that stay on loop on the background, to major ones like crashing during saving or when trying to talk to important people. Or in some cases people didn't talk to me at all, like Daggerfall's Queen Abuki of Sentinel here, but maybe I merely hadn't triggered a plot important event or something. All of this happened frequently, which is frustrating because completing side missions is rather fun and they have more variation and occasionally manage to surprise you. The most memorable one was where a bartender said his mistress had a mission for me, but turns out it was my arch nemesis Sahibrius! I didn't know I even had an arch nemesis, but needless to say, that vacancy was opened rather quickly. However, here's the true king of worms. I couldn't advance to level 3. I tried everything, completed several side quests for nobles and commoners alike, wandered around Daggerfall countryside and visited 5 random graveyards to kill monsters with no progress. And for perspective, at this point in Arena, Krillintor was at level 7. You should know that leveling up works differently in Daggerfall, where instead of getting experience points, your skills get better the more you use them, and during rest the game checks if you manage to use them enough to raise your skill points. In other words, they took the system from Final Fantasy II and somehow made it even less functional. Why this is so bad? You have to get to level 3 in order to trigger the next plot-relevant event. I wouldn't have this problem if they hadn't changed it from Arena and allowed the players to advance in the main quest at their own pace. But maybe this isn't a bug after all. Maybe they just raised the overall level cap and to compensate for that made the leveling up last longer. So I decided that I go through all 3 major power players and do side quests for them. Maybe it will be enough. I can do this. King Godwin wants an item of dubious legal status to be delivered to his contact, merchant Theodane Kingsley. Thus our hero, hesitant but knowing this will help in completing her mission to her emperor, travels to the town of Baleward and... You're not Theodane Kingsley. This is the building I was advised to go in and its exact location was marked on my map, yet I should go west? But at the next house there's a different guy who tells me to go east. There's no house between these two, nor there are any other doors. Could it be that the game is so buggy it omitted a quest-relevant character from existence? You know what? A middle finger to you too. I checked out how the story continues and there's more political intrigue, King Godwin's crazy witch grandmother, a shady necromancer, an ancient doomsday mecha. I so wanted to experience that. The Elder Scrolls 2 Daggerfall is potentially engaging epic journey that stumbles on its misguided attempt at realism.
The developers focused so much on making this game big and vast that they forgot to ensure it would function properly. Apparently broken code is a Bethesda tradition, but I refuse to believe it ever got worse than this. Some other fans say it to be the best in the series, which I completely understand. At its best moments, Daggerfall is exciting, and its virtual life aspect hasn't been recreated in such detail very often. However, at its worst, the game is just like the title or Elder Scrolls. It causes blindness and insanity.
Like its predecessor, this video game was made freeware as well, and you can try to test if you have better luck in not encountering game-breaking bugs. I gave up on it after 8.5 hours, but apparently there's a fan-made conversion for Unity in the making, so if that comes out, I'm willing to give Daggerfall another chance. The third installment, Morrowind, will be featured in this show much later, and hopefully next time I'll have something much lighter. I guess this will do. Until then, thanks for your time.